Today I'm going to share with you 7 life lessons I learned on my journey to becoming a multi-millionaire so that you can get there in a fraction of the time that it took me. So if you can't sit through a short video going over the exact steps that I used to personally become a multi-millionaire and help you solve the single biggest problem in your life right now, you probably aren't cut out to becoming a millionaire. But if you're serious about this, well, grab a notebook, put this video on full screen, and let's get focused, because it's time to dive in. It's no surprise that there are thousands of different ways to make an online income today, but the fact is, if you pick the wrong business model, you're not going to be able to do a good job, you're not going to be able to get great results, and therefore you're not going to be able to succeed long term, or short term, or medium term. This is because the name of the game when it comes to making a lot of money and truly succeeding in business is results. And if you're not good at what you're doing or you're not able to get great results, you're simply not going to make a lot of money. And this explains why pretty much all multimillionaires, centimillionaires, billionaires have found business models that enable them to get great results over the long term. So let's talk about the business model that I would pick personally if I was just starting out. Like I said, there are basically hundreds of different options, from affiliate marketing to drop shipping to Amazon to e-commerce. But none of those are what I would do if I was you. And here's why. First of all, most business models that are being preached and talked about online right now are selling something that we call low ticket, which essentially just means low dollar amounts. And one of the biggest mistakes or myths that people have is they believe that it is significantly easier to sell something for low cost than it is for high cost. But the fact is, it's not 100 times harder to sell something for $100 than it is to sell something for $1. Likewise, it's not 1,000 times harder to sell something for $1,000 than it is for $1. And if we play this out even further to keep the math nice and simple, let's say that we're trying to make $100. Well, we could sell 100 things for $1 each, or we could sell one thing for $100. Again, it is significantly easier to sell that one thing for $100, or for $1,000, or $10,000, or yes, even $100,000 or more. And this is why one of the very first things that you want to focus on when you're trying to choose the right business model is making sure that you're operating in the realm or in the world of high ticket prices, essentially selling something that would cost between $1,500 to $5,000 per month. And ideally, this would be some kind of recurring revenue that would occur month after month after month, so it's not a one-off sale. So in order to do that, what I would focus on is targeting businesses and offering them marketing services. Now, as far as what niche to choose, well, these could be gyms or real estate, it could be plumbing or roofing. I mean, really, the amount of options here is pretty much endless, which is why you do want to find that overlap between areas that you're interested in, you've got some experience in, or that you believe you could do a good job in learning kind of the terms and the lingo and the way that these businesses operate. Now, the reason we want to work with businesses is because they typically have a larger amount of cash flow and understand the importance and value of marketing. A lot of these businesses are doing 6 or 7 figures, sometimes even 8 or 9 figures, oftentimes even much more than that. This is why it's very easy and very reasonable for them to invest $1,500, $2,500, even $5,000 and up per month in order to have you perform marketing services for them to help them get more leads, customers, and sales. Now, I can already hear you through the screen here thinking, Adam, I have no experience or testimonials. Why would they want to work with me? Well, let me tell you why none of those matter. The only thing that stops you from signing your first client is your inability to convince them that you know what their problem is and that you have the right solution for that, and that you're the one that's able to deliver it and get them the results they're looking for. You see, the vast majority of businesses out there started their business in order to offer whatever service they're doing, whether it's a jiu-jitsu gym or a plumbing company or a solar panel installation, whatever it is, they are doing that to provide that service. And they didn't start their business because they love marketing. All they want to do is marketing all day. Because of this, most businesses out there have very, very bad marketing. And to make matters worse, or to make them better, at least for you, they look at marketing as a chore, a necessary evil, something that they have to do but really don't want to do it. In fact, some of them hate it so much that they don't do it at all. Therefore, they're leaving just an absolute ton of money on the table. Ooh, money. They end up missing out on hot leads, they waste a ton of money, they frustrate themselves endlessly, and they end up doing a lot of very ineffective marketing strategies that provide nothing in return. So, this is where you come in. You can implement simple and proven marketing systems and automations using software that allows them to generate more leads, more customers, and more sales with very little work on your part, but providing them absolutely amazing results. You don't have to run ads or write marketing copy or set up complicated marketing funnels. I mean, you can if you want to, but you don't have to. Thanks to marketing software, most of the fulfillment or delivery of services that you need to do can be completely automated with just a few clicks. And your clients really don't care that you're not doing that much work on the back end as long as you're delivering them results. As long as you're making them money, they're happy to keep paying you. So here's all you have to do. Number 1, set up an agency. Number 2, reach out to small businesses. Number 3, let them know how your services will fix their problems. And number 4, fulfill or deliver those services. Yep, it's that simple. So if you have the right business model, then starting a business can be safe, simple, and wildly profitable. And the fact is, there has never been a better time in history to start a business than right now. Let me tell you something. When I first started my very first online business, I tried so many things that failed. I mean, I didn't know how to write a blog or create social media content. I didn't know how to build a website or a marketing funnel. I didn't even know what marketing really was. But I was completely new to all of this, so it was only normal, only reasonable to expect that I was gonna fail a lot. And most of the things I tried just weren't gonna work out. But every time that I tried something and it failed, I made a mental note of what went wrong and I improved it next time. And with enough failures and iterations, well, over time, those lessons started to reveal themselves before I even had to go through all the pain and struggle and frustration. And compound all of those lessons year after year after year, and we've arrived to the point that I'm at today. Essentially, in the beginning, it feels like you're pushing a rock uphill only to have it slip out of your fingers and crush you in order to have to repeat it time and time again. Sisyphus style. But here's a better graph to show you what this process looks like from someone like you who's trying to become a multimillionaire yourself. When you start any new task or try to accomplish any new goal, whether it's trying to build an online business or make your first million or improve your physique or have a better relationship, this is typically what progress looks like at the very early stages. Basically, not much. The problem is that most people think that growth or progress should be a linear process where they move one step forward and one step higher, one step forward and one step higher. But this just isn't how things go. Success is exponential. This is because every lesson and every previous success builds on that and it compounds. So over time, your results start coming quicker and stronger and better than you could have ever imagined. But like I said, most people don't accept this, believe that it's linear, and so they show up once or maybe even twice, don't get the results that they're looking for, and then they quit, bail, give up completely. It's a tragedy, I tell you, a tragedy. But to make things just a little bit more complicated, when you first start learning any new task or taking any kind of action whatsoever, you experience what we call newbie gains, where you're able to get a significantly large boost, some great results right out of the bat, often with very little work. But typically those results are short-lived, and when they don't repeat themselves or you don't experience them again soon enough, again, this is where most people just completely give up and move on to something different. A tragedy for them, but an absolutely important thing for everybody else that sticks with it, which explains why the rich do keep getting richer, because they just keep continually compounding on the successes that they've had. Good news for you is that you can join this group at any time that you choose by simply not quitting and allowing the powerful force of compounding to work its magic on whatever skills or whatever business that you choose to spend your time on. Anyway, the key here is to take action every single day and start collecting success points and failure points every single day. And of course, the only way to do this is by taking action. The success points are going to give you the needed confidence that's going to enable you to take more steps moving forward, and the failure points are going to highlight things and paths and systems and programs that just ain't working right now. Also, here's a bit of a fun quote for you, and something I've absolutely found to be true, where I heard someone once say that there comes a point in everyone's life where they're giving an opportunity to make more in the next 12 months than they have in the previous 12 years combined. And this, my friend, highlights the power of that exponential growth curve. Essentially, you're trucking along, doing your work, feeling like you're making kind of slow incremental progress, and then all of a sudden you hit this tipping point where everything just sort of seems to click into place and your growth just skyrockets right through the roof and you blow even your best expectations completely out of the water. I feel like I'm spilling all over the place here. The big point here from this lesson is that you will fail along your journey, but that's okay. It's part of the process. The big thing is that you do not quit. You stick with it because there is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. On your path to becoming a multi-millionaire, there's going to be points where you essentially come into a whole lot more money than you've ever had before. Maybe it's your first 1,000, your first 10,000, your first 100,000, even your first million. And the big question that you're going to have is, well, what do I do with this money? How do I invest it? And I assure you, there is no shortage of opinions from investing and financial gurus out there that are going to tell you the best way to invest your money. I mean, maybe it's stocks, maybe it's bonds. It's probably not bonds. Maybe it's real estate, maybe it's crypto, but whatever it is, I'm here to tell you that from personal experience and also with all of the multimillionaires that I know personally, the single best place to invest your money as an entrepreneur is in yourself and in your business. There's basically no other vehicle, no other channel, no other platform out there that is going to provide the returns that an investment in you and in your business is going to provide. I mean, if we look at stock markets of 10%, we look at crypto of even 100% up and then 50% down and all over the place. We look at real estate of 5% or 10%, maybe even 15% in fast growing areas. Well, all of those just pale in comparison to the potential 100%, 500%, 1000% returns that you're able to get when you invest in yourself and in your ability to earn more money. This is why you should never skimp out on training, on courses, on books, on programs, on masterminds, on basically anything that's going to allow you to shortcut the learning curve and turn whatever money you have into significantly more. In fact, looking back over my career, over the past decade plus, it's easy to see the times and the moments that I've made the biggest jumps financially. And they've pretty much all come off the back of some kind of course or program or training or mentor or someone who has opened my eyes and enlightened me to a better and a smarter way of doing things that enabled me to make just so much more money. One more really quick example to just really nail this point home. Let's say, for example, you're making $100,000 a year. Well, you can invest this money and you might make, say, 10% for an extra 10 grand. Or you could invest this money in you and learn how to turn that 100 grand into 200 grand or 300 or 400 or 500. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't save and you shouldn't invest and you shouldn't have an emergency fund. All of those are incredibly important. But don't think that those are going to be the key to your financial freedom and to becoming a multimillionaire. Because while compounding is important, like we just talked about, it's also incredibly slow, especially if you're starting with a smaller nest egg. Much better off to increase the income that you're creating than working on trying to build up passive investments, which again require just a significantly larger amount of cash up front. Of course, if you're a trust fund baby that inherited $10 million, none of this applies, but for the rest of us who started from zero, the fastest way to become a multimillionaire is to just keep reinvesting in yourself and in your growth. All right, I think we beat that one up enough. Let's move on. I want you to take a look at the richest person that you look up to or that you admire. Well, no matter who it is, the odds are pretty good that they've all got one thing in common, which is that they've all focused and pretty much laser focused on just one single thing in order to become as rich as they have. Now, I'm not saying that once they became multi-billionaires, they didn't invest in all kinds of different channels and platforms and ideas and businesses, but their path to get to that level of wealth in the first place pretty much always been focused. The sad fact is, in today's day and age, a lot of people have given into this myth of generalization. This idea that you can do all the things and be all the places and essentially dibble and dabble. Spread yourself thin across a million different ideas because you're a multifaceted person with all kinds of different ideas and inspirations and hobbies, so why not do them all? Well, I'll tell you why not, because that is by far the slowest and least effective path to making a whole lot of money. And while it is human nature to want to be great at so many things, to be a great entrepreneur and business owner and musician and artist and parent or friend and this hobby and that hobby and all of that, they're all contradictive with the success principles that are actually required, which is to focus and become exceptional at one thing. And the sad fact is that this pursuit of trying to become great at so many different things and pursue so many different hobbies just leads us to become average or really below average at pretty much all of them. The fact is we just don't have that much time, certainly not the time that is required to become a master of a million different things. There's a great quote that I love that says, "You can do anything, but you can't do everything." It's kind of a kick in the pills, but there's life for you. This is why the far more effective approach to generalization is specialization. And there's no mathematical conceivable way that I can imagine where you commit your life to mastering one true thing, one truly exceptional skill, delivering that to as many people as possible. There's no way that that doesn't allow you to make just an absolute boatload of money over time. The world doesn't need more generalists doing all the random things. They need more passionate, specific, specialist people that are able to provide real solutions to real people's problems. When you do that, you will be rewarded handsomely. Of course, if you want to be average or ordinary and just have a lot of fun, then by all means, do whatever you want, do all the things. But I do want you to realize this. If you choose to become the jack of all trades, you will be ruled by the person who decided to become the master of one. All right, so now that you've picked your one thing, the next step here is that you need to stay consistent. Actually stick with it. I mean, it should really come as no surprise that the most financially successful, the multimillionaires, decamillionaires, centimillionaires, billionaires that you look up to are all incredibly consistent and dedicated with their craft. Whereas you look at the average ordinary person and they are often undisciplined and completely inconsistent with everything they do. There's a clue here. Now, there are a million different reasons of why you want to become a disciplined person and be consistent in your actions and with your life, but at least in regards to financial success and making as much money as humanly possible, it's this focus on becoming disciplined and consistent that's going to enable you to focus on that one thing that's going to enable you to reap massive rewards over time as those skills and those assets compound on each other. Plus, it also enables you to focus on what's actually important to you, not what your friends want, not what your parents want, not what your colleagues or significant other wants, but what's actually important to you. And the basic fact of the matter is, if you can't control your focus and your discipline today, well, how are you going to focus and control what happens to you in the future? Millionaires have mastered discipline and pretty much have a set routine that they follow every single day. They typically wake up at the same time every day, they have a certain amount of things that they do, certain tasks they have to complete, a routine we might be able to call it. They prioritize learning and taking action, they focus on revenue generating activities, and they do this time and time again for weeks and months and years on end. And then people look at them from the outside and think that everything they've done has just been complete luck. Now, like ordinary people, even millionaires have off days. The difference is that millionaires, multimillionaires, are quickly able to get themselves back on track, and they don't let a few bad minutes or a few bad hours, or even a few bad days completely derail their entire routine and their entire goals and life and progress. In fact, there are a number of amazing studies on this when it comes to diet and nutrition and fitness, where the end goal, or the people that are able to achieve the absolute best levels of success, aren't the people that never slip up, but they're the people that get back on track as quickly as possible. In other words, the most successful people when it comes to diet and fitness and nutrition, well, they might have a little bit too much dessert, or they might skip a workout, but that's okay. They just get right back to it the next day. Ordinary average people, on the other hand, well, they have a piece of pizza, they think everything's completely written off, so they eat 10 more giant pizzas, ice cream sundae, a gallon of Ben & Jerry's, down it with a 2-liter of Coke, and, well, basically give up on their dreams altogether. So don't be that person. If you're looking for a bit of a life hack in order to help this become so much easier, my recommendation is to really make sure that you've written down your goals and why they're important to you. This way you're able to review them multiple times throughout the day. So anytime that life throws you a curveball, which it inevitably will, you're able to get back right on track as quickly as possible. This has been one of the most important mindsets that I've adopted that has enabled me to achieve pretty much every goal that I've set for myself. I'm not completely naive thinking that life's not going to happen and bad things aren't going to occur. I'm going to get derailed a few times. But the faster I'm able to get back on track, the faster I'm able to start pursuing the things that actually truly matter to me. It also plays in nicely to the fact that action is really all that matters when it comes to success. I mean, we can sit here all day and talk about it and theorize about it, write down goals and say affirmations, but none of that matters if we're not actually out there in the trenches taking action and doing the things that need to get done. Doing the things that need to get done. Yes, that made sense. Self-made millionaires all understand that time is their most precious and valuable asset. As a lesson, you need to be able to prioritize efficiency over pretty much everything else. You can always make more money, and you can always just go to sleep or eat some better food in order to get more energy. But you can never get back your time. Understanding this, not just understanding it, but fully embracing this as a core part of my philosophy was an absolute game changer for me. I remember the day that I hired my very first employee for my company, and essentially my productivity, my available working hours, basically doubled overnight. Not only did making this hire free up my time and allow me to double my productivity and my output essentially, but it also enabled me to do something even more important, which was spend a bit of time really truly understanding where my time was best spent, where my zone of genius was, where I was able to make essentially better results, better returns on the effort that I put in. Again, going back to something I said earlier, where we can do anything, but we can't do everything, well, this is what delegating or hiring or outsourcing, or even if you just want to stay as a solopreneur, operating solely by yourself, it's about becoming more efficient in the things that you allow yourself to do and the things that you delete or just completely remove from your schedule. Now, inside of the main programs that I teach, we call the most important activities RGAs, or revenue generating activities, as typically, at least insofar as business and making money is concerned, these are the important things. The things that generate revenue. Lucky for you, lucky for me, this is typically a very short list. Things like making client calls, having conversations with potential clients, fulfilling services, and making sure that we're keeping the clients or the customers that we're serving happy and sticking around. But where most people spend their time are things that we call NRGAs, or non-revenue generating activities. These are things like updating your website, or creating content if you don't really have an audience yet, or updating a logo, or doing anything that isn't actually contributing revenue to you and to your business. And those, unsurprisingly, are not efficient uses of your time. This is why one of the single most important things that you can do as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, is start digging into all of the tasks, all of the activities that you perform on a daily basis, and start identifying a few of the ones that you either hate doing or you're just not very good at, and then finding some kind of person or system or software or automation in order to get that off your plate so you can focus on the things that actually make you money. The fact is, you've got to cut all of the activities that you just hate doing and don't provide anything to your business if you want to live a financially free and actually enjoyable life. And while on the topic of cutting out the useless noise and nonsense from your life, well, this next lesson might just sting a bit, but it's an important one. We've all heard the quote, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with," and that quote is absolutely true. Your surroundings do influence your behavior and your actions, your ideas, and even your personality. But the best way to see just how powerful all of this is to just think about children. They're born into the world with no real understanding of what's going on, and then the situation that they grow up in largely determines their outlook on life. In fact, they've done countless studies on this, and sadly, the biggest indicator of someone's later financial success has to do with what zip code or what area that they grow up in. This is simply because the ideas and the beliefs and the culture and the experiences of those around them greatly influence that child and their expectations of what they're capable of. This is why it is so incredibly important to make sure that you're constantly surrounding yourself with other successful people who have or are in the process of achieving the goals that are important to you. Let me give you another example. When I first started my very first marketing agency, my goal was to make $10,000 a month. And I remember seeing and hearing about different programs and mentors and coaches that were all claiming that I was going to be able to make $1 million a year, $100,000 a month. And I assure you, I thought they were all completely garbage or nonsense and lying to me. After all, nobody could make that much money. But I was wrong. Fortunately, it's just that no one that I knew was making that much money. So I didn't have the right mindset or the right perception on what was actually possible. And it was only later when I started surrounding myself with groups of people making not just millions, but tens of millions, then hundreds of millions, and later even billions of dollars a year that I started to realize just how small my goals were and how truly achievable some of the things that other people were saying were possible actually were. Now, maybe you're saying, "But Adam, it's too late to change the people that I hang around with." But that, my friend, is just not true. And don't you think it would be better to take a few small steps now to try to get around better people than to spend the rest of your life constantly wishing that you had? Or even worse, looking back at the end of your life and thinking, "Man, I really should have got some better friends." I mean, I'm not even suggesting that you completely cut absolutely everybody out. You can make this a relatively slow process of slowly incorporating more better people, where inevitably you're going to end up changing and start attracting more and better people into your life as your goals start to become realized. Now, one quick warning, as you start to go through this process, your friends will start to try to pull you back in. They'll try to get you to be the old you, the fun you, the person without goals, without dreams, without ambitions, that was just up for having a good time. So, be careful. They're not doing this because they're mean or cruel, but because they love you and because change is scary. And if you start achieving things, it's also going to make them question why they're not achieving things that they know they're capable of. So cut out any toxic or negative people. Cut the lazy ones. Cut the fake ones. And focus on building up your friends and colleague circle of other people on a similar path as you, who understand the value and the importance of becoming the best version of yourself and making as much money as you possibly can so that you can pursue a lifestyle and level of freedom and level of control that most people only ever dream of. So those are the 7 lessons that I've learned on my path to becoming a multimillionaire. And if you'd like to learn about my exact system and the process that I've used time and time again to generate millions and millions of dollars a year, well, I've linked up a video right here that's going to take you to a completely new dedicated channel that's going to show you everything you need to know. So make sure to tap or click that now, and I'll see you in there in just a second.